Subscribe to my YouTube channel. You won't believe what happens next in this crazy story. The grand estate of the Liu family was the kind of place most people could only dream of. Massive chandeliers, marble floors that gleamed like mirrors, and walls lined with priceless art. It was a world of elegance, luxury, and strict rules. Xiaoyu knew she didn't belong here. She wasn't a real lady, just a poor girl who had been given a chance to work in the mansion. But tonight, she wasn't thinking about that. Right now, all she cared about was food. Her stomach growled as she tiptoed across the dark kitchen. The chefs had prepared a feast earlier, but of course, none of it had been for her. The Liu family's high-class guests had dined in luxury, while she had stood quietly in the background, serving tea, her own hunger gnawing at her. But now, finally, the mansion was silent. The guests had left. The staff had retired to their quarters, and Xiaoyu was alone. Or so she thought. She crouched beside the open fridge, her eyes lighting up as she spotted a plate of leftover pastries. Soft, buttery, and probably the most delicious thing she would ever eat. Without thinking twice, she grabbed one and stuffed it into her mouth. Heaven! She sighed in relief, closing her eyes for a moment as the sweet taste melted on her tongue. If only she could eat like this every day. But then, a sharp click echoed. Through the kitchen, Xiaoyu froze, pastry still in her mouth. Slowly she turned her head. A tall figure stood in the doorway. His sharp eyes locked onto her. Liu Junhao, the CEO, the owner of this entire estate. Her heart nearly stopped. How long had he been standing there? And more importantly, how much had he seen? For a moment, neither of them spoke. The silence stretched between them, thick with tension. Xiaoyu scrambled to swallow the pastry, nearly choking in the process. Master Liu, I was just stealing food. His voice was calm, but there was something unreadable in his gaze. Her face burned. No, I was just... He took a step closer, his towering frame making her feel impossibly small. So, this is what the elegant Miss Xiaoyu does at night. Her stomach twisted. Elegant, if only he knew. During the day, she had to pretend to be a well-mannered lady, dressed in fine gowns, speaking in soft, polite tones. She wasn't supposed to be a servant after all. The Liu family believed she was someone important, someone with class. If they found out the truth... Her hands clenched into fists. I wasn't stealing. I was just hungry. His eyes flickered, with something she couldn't quite place. Amusement, curiosity. She expected him to be furious, to call the housekeeper, to demand answers. Instead, to her complete shock, he chuckled, a soft, low laugh, as if he found the entire situation ridiculous. Xiaoyu blinked up at him in disbelief. Was this some kind of trap? You're really something, he muttered, shaking his head. Then without another word, he reached past her, grabbing a pastry for himself. Her mouth fell open. Wait, what are you doing? She whispered, panicked, joining. You. He leaned against the counter, taking a bite. Not bad. Xiaoyu's brain struggled to process what was happening. The powerful, cold CEO of Liu Enterprises was casually eating midnight snacks with her in the kitchen. This had to be a dream. She stole another glance at him. His hair was slightly tousled, his usual pristine suit replaced with a loose, casual shirt. He looked different, less like the intimidating businessman, and more like a normal guy. A very, very handsome normal guy. Heat rushed to her cheeks. What was she thinking? This was ridiculous. She had to get out of here before she ruined everything. But just as she stepped back, "Wait," he said suddenly. She froze. Lu Junhao set his half-eaten pastry down and turned to her fully, his expression unreadable once again. Who exactly are you, Xiao Yu? Her breath caught. This was bad. Had he figured it out? Did he suspect that she wasn't really a noblewoman? That she was just a fraud, wearing borrowed dresses and living on borrowed time? She forced a laugh. What do you mean? I'm just someone pretending to be something they're not. Her entire body went cold. She looked up at him, her heart hammering in her chest. Those dark, knowing eyes. They were seeing through her, seeing the truth. He knew, and now there was nowhere to run. Xiao Yu felt her entire body stiffen. The kitchen, once a place of quiet comfort, now felt suffocating. The way Lu Junhao looked at her, like he was peeling away her layers, seeing something she had fought so hard to keep hidden, sent a shiver down her spine. She swallowed, forcing a smile. Master Lu, you must be mistaken. I'm not pretending to be anything. His gaze didn't waver. A real lady wouldn't be sneaking into the kitchen at night, stuffing pastries into her mouth like a starving child. Her breath hitched. He wasn't wrong, but she couldn't let him know the truth. If he found out that she was just an ordinary girl who had somehow ended up in this luxurious world by chance, it would all be over. She took a small step back. I just have a habit of midnight snacks. Old habits die hard. He tilted his head, studying her, like a puzzle he couldn't quite figure out. The amusement in his eyes hadn't faded, but there was something else now. Curiosity, interest, a dangerous combination. For a moment, she thought he might press further, but instead, he simply smirked. Fine, keep your secrets. Relief washed over her, but it was short-lived. He picked up another pastry, taking his time with each bite, as if he had no intention of leaving. The silence stretched between them, thick with unspoken questions. Xiao Yu hesitated. She needed to get out of here. It's late. I should stay. He interrupted. She froze. What? Stay, he repeated, setting his pastry down. Sit. She hesitated, but his expression was unreadable. If she refused, would he grow suspicious? Slowly, she pulled out a chair and sat down across from him. For a while, neither of them spoke. The only sound was the soft ticking of the clock and the faint hum of the refrigerator. Then out of nowhere, he asked, "Why did you come here?" She blinked. "To eat?" He shook his head. "I mean this house, this world. Why are you here?" Her fingers curled into her lap. "Because I belong here." "Do you?" Xiao Yu's throat went dry. Did he know? Was this a test? She forced herself to meet his gaze. "I do." He didn't reply right away. Instead, he leaned back in his chair, watching her with those sharp eyes. Then he murmured, almost to himself, "You're different." Xiao Yu stiffened. Different how? He tapped his fingers on the table, considering his words. The women in this house, they talk, but they don't say anything real. They smile, but their eyes are cold. You... His lips curved slightly. You stuff your face with pastries and panic when you're caught. Heat rushed to her face. That doesn't mean I'm different, doesn't it? She opened her mouth, then closed it. She had spent so long trying to blend in, trying to act like the noble woman they expected her to be. But in just a few minutes, he had seen through her. And yet, he wasn't angry. He wasn't disgusted. He was intrigued. A dangerous thing. She needed to leave. Now, Xiao Yu stood abruptly. "It's late. I should go." Junhao didn't stop her. He just watched, a knowing look in his eyes. "Good night, Miss Xiao Yu." She turned quickly, heart pounding, and hurried out of the kitchen. But even as she walked away, she knew this wasn't the end. He was watching her now, and if she wasn't careful, he was going to find out everything Xiaoyu's heart pounded. As she rushed down the hallway, her mind racing, she had been so careful, so meticulous in keeping up the illusion. But Lu Junhao, he had noticed. He had seen something in her that no one else had. And that was dangerous. For the next few days, she avoided him. She stayed in her room, left the dining hall early, and never once stepped foot in the kitchen at night. But no matter how much she tried to disappear, she could feel his gaze on her, watching, waiting. Then one evening, a formal dinner was held at the mansion. Important guests arrived, dressed in the finest clothes, their conversations filled with business and power. Xiaoyu did her best to play her role, to smile, to nod at the right moments, to pretend she belonged. But then, she felt it again, that weight, that undeniable pull. She looked up. Across the room, Lu Junhao was watching her. Before she could look away, he stood and began walking toward her. Her pulse quickened. She forced herself to remain calm, to keep her expression neutral as he stopped beside her. "A word," he said, his voice low. She swallowed hard, but nodded. He led her out onto the terrace, the night air cool against her skin. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then, he turned to face her. "Who are you, really?" Her breath caught. He wasn't playing anymore. He knew. She started, but the words died in her throat. He took a step closer. "You don't belong to this world, do you?" Panic flared in her chest. She could lie, pretend, deny. But looking into his eyes, she knew it was useless. Tears pricked. Her vision. "No," she whispered. Something in his expression shifted. He wasn't angry. He wasn't disappointed. He just watched her, waiting for her to continue. "I grew up poor," she admitted, voice trembling. "I worked as a servant for most of my life. Then one day I got a chance, a ridiculous, impossible chance, to step into this world. And I took it." He said nothing, just listening. "I thought, if I played the part well enough, no one would ever know." She continued. "But you," her voice broke, "you saw through me." Thighs. A silence stretched between them. Then, to her surprise, he let out a soft chuckle. "You're braver than half the people in that room," he said. "They were born into wealth, yet they've done nothing to earn it. You fought to be here." She blinked at him, unsure what to say. Then he reached out, gently tilting her chin up so she met his gaze. "You don't need to pretend with me," he murmured. Tears slipped down her cheeks. For so long she had been afraid of being caught, of being humiliated, of losing everything. But now, standing here, she felt something else, relief. She didn't have to run anymore. She didn't have to hide. Lu Junhao gave her a small smile. "Midnight snack." A laugh bubbled up in her throat. She nodded. Midnight snack. And just like that, the weight she had carried for so long finally lifted.